How are you, Lawrence, today? Because it takes a minute or so for this thing to work on the other side.
Okay.
So, how are you today? Thanks for calling in. Uh,
Yeah, thank you for having me.
how is beautiful San Diego today?
San Diego, a little bit cloudy. We may get a little bit of rain, but I think we're going to manage just as long as you stay off the freeways because everyone doesn't know how to drive in the rain.
Yeah. And welcome to our audience. And thanks for joining our live here on LinkedIn. And today's conversation is going to be why we believe chefs make great business consultants, why chefs make great business leader, and some of the cohesive stuff around leadership. I'm joined here today by Chef Lawrence. Chef Lawrence, if you don't mind, give everybody the 2 minute cliff note who you are.
Yeah, I'm Chef Lawrence. I live in Southern California near San Diego, and I started the first meal prep home delivery service in Southern California, and I successfully operated that business for 20 years. And then I took a lot of the skills that I learned from being a chef and running my own business and pivoted to being what I call myself as the digital marketing chef, where now I take all the different sort of e-tools that are out there and create a recipe to help businesses create a successful plan for themselves.
I love that. And I appreciate you being here today. And we had the conversation earlier. There's a few traits which I honestly believe make chefs so much better in so many different things than just cooking. Because I think the kitchen environment is a very high pressure environment. We lead diverse teams, we innovate under pressure. And there's a lot of constraints to that. But we still kind of maintain the vision of excellence. So that was for me kind of the foundation, what I wanted to talk about. How do you feel around that?
Well, I call that the chef's mindset, where you're only as good as the last dish that you just served out.
I love that.
And I think that companies should adopt the same mentality where they're only as good as the last communication that they had with one of their customers. And that can be through a phone call, that could be through a chat bot, that can be through an email.
Yep.
And so I think that chef mentality where you're never happy, you're always constantly improving is something that companies could easily adopt into their culture as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So for me, I want to break it down into three simple process or three simple steps we want to talk about. Because for me, I feel the reason chefs are so good in leadership and so many other different kind of programs is because I honestly believe of self-reflection and personal leadership. Chefs are very self-aware, and it takes time to reflect on what is going on and where we want to go. And for us, we have a program called the Table for One Leadership, and that emphasizes especially on that is the habits of reflection. So I wanted to talk to Lawrence a little bit. Where do you see reflection around self-leadership?
Well, I mean, a lot of the reflection is keeping yourself in check. I guess everyone has a leadership style that best fits their their own character, their own persona, and to make sure that your leadership style fits who you are naturally, not forced, because I think people can pick up on someone that's forcing their leadership style. But just to be a natural leader that fits your personality, I think it takes a lot of self-reflection on who you are and making sure that you're being true to yourself, which means you're being true to the people that rely on you.
I love that. And I think there's nothing more true than in the kitchen, because there's so many people which rely on you for leadership, not just for leadership, but also for their career. So I think that's absolutely amazing. I love that. So can you talk to me a little bit more about that? Because one of the things we believe in our program is that you just need to be self-aware. And we talk about self-awareness a lot. And we also talk about being aware of what's going on around you. And I think a kitchen is the perfect setup to make this work. So what do you What is your take around leadership? What is going on around you, and how to be self-aware?
Well, I think the kitchen, again, you brought up a really good example. I mean, a lot of people in the heat of the moment when you're in the kitchen, they're going to look at the chef and see what you're doing, and they're going to
Mhm.
they're going to follow you. They're going to mimic your movements. And if you have some bad habits, they're going to pick up on it as well. So you've got to be constantly aware of who's watching you, who's
Mhm.
around you, so that you can hold yourself accountable to your actions, so that you're not setting up a system, or you're not setting up a model for other people to follow that may lead to some bad habits that the kitchen just doesn't need. So yeah, you constantly got to be aware of your actions, what you say when it's stressful, how you react to it, because whatever you do, the people in the kitchen are going to follow.
Absolutely love that. And that kind of goes into our second point we want to talk about is empowerment through mentorship. When I talk to you about mentorship, what comes to mind?
Mentorship. I mean, someone that I can look up to, that I trust, that
Mhm.
can give me information that I can resonate with.
Yeah.
Someone
I
that takes the time to coach, that wants to be a coach and a good listener.
I love that because it's so true. Because chefs by nature, they nurture
Mhm.
people, they nurture their team members, they teaching them to new techniques. They have or give them offering constructive feedback. So for me, that's really important. And for me, I think about my first mentor I had, and by the way, he's still my mentor today, 25 years later. And he was the former CEO of an international food company, and he does some amazing stuff now. And what I always loved about him is um, the not just unique perspective he brought to the table, is when he brought something, and when I asked a question, he pushed back and said, "Have you ever thought about that?" And then for me, that was a huge eye opener. How about you around mentorship?
Yeah, I've had mentors where it was actually authors and different motivational speakers like Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy and people like that I've read. And then I've had some of my best mentors were just my coworkers, people that I
Yeah.
worked with, that we knew we were in the same boat. We knew that we were in the same situation, and we kind of just helped each other get through the challenge that we we're facing. And some of those were my best, just peer to peer, with some of my best mentors. People that if I mention their name, no one would even know who they are. But in the moment,
Mhm.
sometimes mentors appear to be at the moment when you need them the most, and then those people sometimes disappear, and then someone else comes into your life
Yeah,
to help you through
that's
that
cool.
moment, and then they disappear and they've done what they needed to do. And so those have been my best
I love
mentors,
that.
just people
I
that I've come in contact with.
So I heard that saying, "When the student is ready, the teacher will appear."
Yep.
And for me, absolutely love that what you just said, because there's nothing more true than that. Because I honestly believe that chefs teach and how to become great mentors themselves, because the environment, where growth is constant and where your team members feel valued and empowered. I think that's a great format for a chef to say, "Hey, let me look, how can I empower differently? How can I become a mentor and leader in my industry?" And that's for me, I think one of the key reasons why chefs are so good in so many different ways. And you know me for a long time, and I talk about this all the time. During COVID, a friend of mine owned a very successful uh, landscaping company. And he said, "Christian, I have all of these chefs come and apply for a position." And he said, "I'm not really sure if I should hire somebody." I said, "Give him a shot." And a few weeks later, he says to me, "By the way, I will only hire chefs." And, you know the story. And he said, because the first event we did gravel driveway, and he says, before I even went to my car to get calculated, that chef guy told me, "Oh, I need XYZ amount." And I was like, "How did you figure it out?" He says, "It's easy. It's 3 meters wide and long, and you need 1.5 inch." And he said that for me it was eye opening. And then there's two other things he shared with me, which I absolutely loved. The first one was he always talked about that chefs by nature clean up really well after themselves, and they by nature um, leave the place better than they found them. I always loved that. It's so true. And then the other thing he said, he says they just all really good with people because when his clients came and some of them might complain and some wanted to chit chat, he says they were really good in kind of talking to people. So for me, I absolutely love that. What is your experience around that?
Yeah, I mean, very, very similar. I think one of the first things, like when I look at a task or something, a project, the first thing I ask is how am I going to set up my station?
Yeah.
I mean, what tools do I need and everything to be in place so that I can effectively do what I need to do? And that's just part of that chef mentality. And then cleaning up afterwards. I think that's a great analogy. It's just like my desk right here. At the end of the day, I have to put everything back to where it was in the beginning and set myself up for tomorrow. And that could be also, and you and I talk about it also, it's like in the evening, I know you reflect on your day and get ready for tomorrow. I do exactly the same thing. I used to do that in the kitchen. I go through and I take inventory of what we went through. What do I need for the following day? I make sure I have everything in place so that when my coworkers or my staff comes in, they have everything in place so that they don't have to wait for anything. They can get right to the task that they need to do. So yeah, absolutely. Those skills are completely transferable. And it's, because we're always in this state of mind, I got to constantly keep myself in a place of success. Got to do what it takes so that I'm always in a position to succeed, because there is no time to fail in a kitchen.
Yeah. That is so true. And then, by the way, you just perfectly well went into point number 3 I wanted to talk about, because I called it building a vision, and I think chefs are really good at that because they need to envision a whole dining experience and execute on that. So number one, and to do that, that requires leadership. It requires clarity. And not just clarity around where you want to go, it's visionary leadership. Likewise, if you're in business, a strong leader must have or develop that clear vision for the organization, and he needs to be able to articulate this to its teams, and chefs do this really, really well. And not only that, it's also around inspiring everyone around you. So I honestly believe chefs are masters at crafting something bigger than the sum of its parts. And I honestly believe this because it's a powerful skill for leadership to be in the food service industry. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to, because what I found is that when I created a lofty vision of where we wanted to take the menu or the type of food that we want to provide or the type of experience for our customers, everyone rise to it. I mean, everyone else wants to do the same as well. And it kind of falls back to the first point where you create that vision, but then everyone's gonna be looking to you to be the leader, the mentor on how we're going to execute on it. But a good mentor also has those pre-staff meetings at the beginning of the day and also the after to get everyone's feedback on how they want to contribute. What skills do they have that they can bring to the table to help make that vision happen? And I think that's a really key point, is that a chef, I mean, it's a family, right? I mean, it's you're kind of nurturing your children in a way to where you make them feel like you can do this. I mean, you have that's why I hired you, is that you possess these skills and talents to make this vision happen. And when people feel that way, it's amazing. Because for instance, I had we were launching a new menu for the home delivery service, and my staff, I didn't even ask them to do that. They came back the next day and they all did their homework on exactly what are the different techniques we can use in the kitchen to execute on this menu. And they just did it upon themselves, and we applied it. And because they saw that we applied what they came back with, I didn't have to do anything. They trained themselves because they already did the homework, and they felt empowered to execute on the knowledge that they acquired, and they felt comfortable enough to share it, and they executed on it, and it worked perfectly.
I love that. I love that. So now we want to hear from our audience. So if you don't mind, in the comments below, How do you feel? Um, are chefs perfectly positioned to be leaders in the industry outside of food service? And we talked about three things: self reflection and self leadership or personal leadership. I don't care what you call it, because for me, is if you can get yourself to get up in the morning and go live, for an example, as we are here, how are you going to lead others? So it's for me super powerful. Also, then we talked about point number two is empowerment through mentorship, and I love what you said, that there were so many mentors you had come and go. And then finally, for us, point number three was that you need to build a clear vision. And I think chefs are extremely good at that because they have to do this on a daily basis. So for me, if I have to all round it up, I think chefs, both as leaders and as businessmen, they bring a wealth of insight into not just operational excellence, emotional intelligence, adaptability, also into high performing cultures. And that's for me the key, or one of the things why we started the Table for One leadership, because it focuses exactly on that. It focuses on developing strong, relative, and adaptive leaders who inspire others. So that's really, for me, why we started the Table for One leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Table for One also is if you're a leader, you want to be able to leave a legacy behind your leadership
Mm,
so that other people can also learn from what you've learned. And I think that's the Table for One, is to not just define your leadership, but to put it out on paper and really get it down on paper so you can visualize exactly
yeah.
where your legacy can go with your leadership so that other people can read it and follow it, and also and improve on themselves.
No, I absolutely love that. And we get asked all the time, why did we ask it for table, or why did we call our program Table for One? And it's really simple, because we honestly believe when you come to that time where you're honest with yourself, and that comes, to the Table of One, not just honest with yourself, where I honestly look at, this is where I'm at, this is where I want to go. And for me, the reason a mentor is so important, because it helps you, shorten the learning curve. And you could learn all of it on your own. There's something called Google. You can, hey, how to become a better leader, and you can do all of that. But having somebody who locks arms with you, shows you some of the steps to get it done, not just show you the steps, holds you accountable. And for me, that's why we started the Table for One leadership.
Absolutely. No, it's an exciting program, and people have a lot to learn from you, Chef, to help define their leadership style and how to share it with others. Really,
Mm,
that's the key, right? I mean, a leader wants to share their
yeah.
knowledge with others just selflessly. Just, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So for our visitors and the people which logged into that and who are on live with us today, let us know in the comments below, what does leadership look like for you? Do you think chefs make good business people outside of the kitchen? And if you are in the food service industry, just share with us, what is one of the things you're better at than the guy next door? Because for me, what I have learned is that we don't do a good job really highlighting the things we're great at. And for me, it was really hard. And it's very hard for me to say, hey, we built this. And, people always come and say, hey, why don't you stream this from the mountaintop that you did all of that? And I was like, yeah, I got lucky. I had the, people helping me out. It's so for me, sharing that was really difficult. How about for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what you're saying is makes complete sense. I don't know what else I can really add to it. I mean, you want to be. Everybody wants to be able to share their knowledge with others, and everyone wants to feel like they have something of value, and
Mhm.
everyone does. And I think that's what the Table of One does, is recognize that everybody has a lesson that other people can learn from. It just takes a guided approach to get
Mhm.
that information out and to make it clear so people can understand it. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's your
Yeah.
philosophy too, I think, Chef, is that everyone has life lessons that other people can learn from, and you're really good about helping people understand that and get it out so that they can share it.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. So we talked about earlier about my mentor, and my mentor always taught me three things. Christian, it's really important for you to be self-aware. That was number one. Second one was you need to possess emotional intelligence, and the third thing is you need just to be a visionary thinker. And then for me, having the opportunity to work with him for over 25 years, I'm really excited about that. But he's still holding me to account today. I actually just talked to him on Tuesday. And so for me, that was one of the reasons we said we wanted to do this. Again, for anybody listening, I'm curious to know what you think. Write it on the comments below. And we really appreciate you logging in. I'm Christian. I'm the founder of the Fischer Research Group, and we have a program called Table for One Leadership. And I'm really honored to have you here today, Chef Lawrence. Give everybody quick the 2-minute cliff note how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so you can go to my LinkedIn page, just type in Lawrence Martineau, and I'm really the only few people in the world named Lawrence Martineau, so I come up pretty quickly. And the digital marketing chef, and also I do work alongside with Christian on some other side projects. So anything that you may need for leadership or business consulting, we are here to be of assistance.
Awesome. So with that, I want to say thanks to everybody for logging in. We really appreciate it. And please write us some comments. We read every single one of them. We want to know, what do you think around that? So with that, I want to say thanks everybody for being